Here are 5 Newcastle fans. They've been stuck in a room together to find out if all Newcastle fans think the same. The concept is really simple. I read out a statement like this.
The Newcastle versus Sunderland rivalry is the biggest in the UK.
And then the Newcastle fans move left or right depending on whether they strongly agree, disagree, or strongly disagree. If you enjoy this concept, make sure to leave a like. We've also got Liverpool coming up. So subscribe and come back to the channel and maybe your favourite team will be in the next episode. Let's get into the video.
Well, we don't play them enough now, do we? Do you know what I mean? So we don't really get a taste that much. I think it's right up there with the Merseyside derby. That would be the second closest to me. Because you look at, you can see them 2 stadiums from each other's. I would just say that one probably just edges it.
Not the North London derby? No?
Nah.
I don't think there's enough aggression in the Merseyside. Yeah, so the Merseyside derbies, because it's played twice a year, it's a bit irrelevant almost. They don't really count.
I think the Old Firm would be more feisty than ours. Because we're just, they're irrelevant.
Well, I'll be interested to know then, would you want, any of you guys, would you want Sunderland to come back up so that you can play them more regularly?
Definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's sometimes a mixed answer. Some people are always like, no, we just want them to suffer or this, that and the other. But
I don't understand that. Like, I know obviously there is that bit of rivalry there, but we want to smash them when we play them, not just watch them capitulate, to be honest. I don't know about how you guys feel. I'd rather they were there to play them.
Especially now, because it's a guaranteed 6 points every year.
Fair enough. Eddie Howe has reached his managerial ceiling at Newcastle. Ooh, okay, a little bit of a split there. How comes you guys would just disagree? I'm
starting to worry that he hasn't got the potential to take us to the next level. There's just been things this season that we've seen that, you know, I don't think he's quite hit his ceiling yet, but I think he's close. I don't think he's a big enough personality to manage bigger players that we could potentially get in, if I'm honest. I know I'm probably going to get bashed in the comments for that, but that's just where it is. I love him, but I don't know if he's going to be there for a long time.
I can see him doing the England job one day. So
if Southgate goes to Man U, as is rumoured in the summer.
I mean, we all hope so. But yeah, no, I think he's not got the biggest personality, but I think he's got the graft and he works every day and night.
Yeah, and you guys obviously just strongly disagree. Don't think there's anyone out there that...
I believe there is a ceiling, to be fair, because with our PIF project, it's always a long-term project, so Newcastle are trying to get to a level where they actually do win silverware, and Eddie Howe's definitely the man that can do that. We've been to a cup final already, we've been in the Champions League. He can definitely achieve more at Newcastle, and I think he will.
He's done it already with not loads of resources. He's doing it again this season with injury crisis and everything else, so yeah, he's definitely the man for the job.
Newcastle were not ready for European football. Wow, you guys were quite in unison today. That was almost exactly the same time. Okay, I guess sort of the results speak for themselves, but do you think maybe you guys should have probably been maybe Europa League instead?
The big issue in Newcastle this season, not necessarily the level of competition in the Champions League, it's the fact you've got so many games now. We could have played Conference League or Europa League, you're still going to get a lot of injuries, which you clearly seen in the team. And our squad at the minute is probably just maybe one more season away from getting that depth in where you can compete in these competitions. So yeah, I agree. I think we probably did feel a little bit too early for Newcastle.
Yeah, we don't have the depth in the squad.
I agree with the squad depth thing. It's we put ourselves there, we deserve to be there, but we couldn't compete with it.
You've only got Bruno, realistically, who's kind of played at that level. The more we improve on the players that we bring in, I think it was always going to be a struggle, like everyone said. Playing 3-4 games over 10 days is just difficult for anyone, especially when you've not played at that level.
You have to say it's commendable though, like we're seconds away from, well, minutes away from getting out of that group of death.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If it wasn't for a dodgy VAR decision in Paris, we would have got through.
And
so
I totally agree, that was one of the worst decisions I've ever seen as well, by the way. So
on one hand, we should have got through, but on one hand, it's like, it was a test too soon for the squad.
And we ended up relying on 17-year-olds like Lewis Miley, who should not have been, he's been great, but he should not be near the squad this early.
Injuries this season has been down to Eddie Howe's squad mismanagement. There's a lot of thought there in the middle. Sneaking over to just disagree. We finally have a split. We've got it. Still undecided. Yeah. Oh, okay.
It's a tough one.
Talk amongst yourselves. How comes you guys are disagreeing on this?
Well, it's a tough one. Like, it is.
You've got to look at individual cases, though, be able to argue about that, though. If you look at certain injuries, I think the bottom one's a big one. You've got to remember he had an ACL tear, which wasn't diagnosed correctly. He then played 2 full nights against AC Milan and Sheffield United. Then it got announced he had an ACL tear, but he's been playing 2 matches with that tear already. And he comes back and he gets a second tear again now. I can't exactly blame that on Eddie Howe, but obviously it's his medical team, it's his staff members at the same time. It's an injury for me that was wrongly diagnosed.
Yeah, there is certain players where you think he has mismanaged them. Botman's the perfect example. And then there's freak injuries, like Harvey Barnes with a dodgy toe. Do you know what I mean? And he's out for about 8 months. So there's players that have come and gone and players that have been rushed back. But that's because, again, I think it goes back to the depth that we didn't have it and these players had to play. There wasn't many other options. Although he has got things wrong, like Lewis Hall for me, should have been used more. Other players could have been used more. Tino could have been used earlier. So that's the one where we need a middle one, yeah. Because this is the 50-50 one for me. It's hard.
Yeah, it's like it's not been his, like could be his fault. Like he's had to bring players back quicker than what he should have been, but that's because we haven't had the depth. But
yeah, it's that rock and hard place. It's like he would have got it wrong if he brought them back too early, and he would have got it wrong if he hadn't brought them back, and we'd have lost some of these games. And yeah, some of them are freak injuries, but as Adam said, it's like, how is the manager, but medical staff and this, that, and the other. I'm not blaming anyone there, but it's not up to him to test whether he's got an ACL tear or not, and he's got to go off the information that's given to him. And if he's told he's fit to play, he's fit to play. Okay, so this next one is sort of getting onto the topic of financial fair play, which obviously is a massive thing at the moment. Due to the new ownership, Newcastle should be allowed to spend more money than they currently are. Okay, well, how comes the little reservations of not going the full way?
I guess should is the right word, but because of what's happened with the Premier League, you get that sort of nervousness that in the future it's going to come back to you. I guess the argument for the other side is more that I guess any rich person in the world could come and get any club, and then if they're able to allow to spend sort of what they want, it might ruin a bit of the integrity of the league. It kind of ruins the whole competitiveness, and you don't want teams to just come and bulldoze the leagues out of nowhere. It ruins that side of competition a little bit if everyone can bring everyone in. But
that would be great if that was the case 20 years ago. But the horse is already bolted now for me. Man City have already done it. Chelsea have already done it. How are we or anyone else ever going to catch them if you can't spend money?
Yeah, I agree with Matthew on that one. Now, the problem with financial fair play is that it's not a level playing field. Now, FFP would work, everyone starts at zero, but everyone didn't start at zero because City, for example, already came and spent that money. Therefore, when FFP starts, everyone's all over the place, so you can't really judge that now. And a team like Newcastle that is willing to spend the money to help bring more money into the Premier League, we can't do that because of FFP. So for me, yes, I'm biased in that, but at the same time, I also don't think FFP as a concept's fair.
What other avenue in any part of the world can you tell a business how they spend their money and how much they can spend? You don't. The likes of Leeds and Portsmouth that had their issues before, that's because the Premier League didn't vet the owners properly. I think you might have to potentially sell some players to buy more. Are you guys worried a little bit that, like you were saying earlier about needing the depth for Champions League or European football, are you worried a little bit that you might not be able to get those players because of the rules? Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's rumours, probably not substantiated, but like of Isak, selling Bruno, which is something as a team we cannot do. Well, you've seen today, we need players like Isak.
I know that all too well. In fact, every week we know it all too well. Haaland will outscore Alan Shearer's Premier League record. Ooh, okay.
Nah, I don't think he'll be here long enough to do it. I think he'll move on. I think he'll test himself in other leagues. If he stayed, but even then, I think if he stayed, Pep's not going to be here forever. He's coming under a bit of criticism at the minute, isn't he? League 2 striker, apparently.
Apparently, according to all the pundits.
No League 2 strikers breaking Shearer's record.
Fair enough. Same sort of
Can I say that same thing? I think he's just going to move on somewhere else and challenge himself somewhere else and win some more trophies. But also, he fits in that Man City team. If he's not in that team, does he bag as many goals? Does he play as well? He just slots in perfectly where he is.
I think modern footballers don't stay at one club anymore. So I don't think he'll be here long enough, whether he wants to or not. If a big offer comes in, they'll sell him. That's how Man City works.
I mean, you look at Haaland's stats already, you think he's got an amazing goal record, which he does, but he's still well over 200 goals away from beating
Yeah, it's true. It's a long way away.
He's still miles away. And the way City are as a team, they changed the team up so much over a few years. Even the Villa win a couple of years ago, they got them a Premier League title. There was only like 4 players left, not starting 11 or something. They changed the team so much. So I don't think he'll be there in the next 5 years.
How comes you are in agree?
I just simply that I think he probably does stay in the Premier League. I think the only team that I could see him going to would be Real Madrid, but I don't see that happening anytime in the future. What is he, 23?
Yeah, I think he's like 23, 24.
He's nowhere near his prime. You know, if he carries on at the average he's going, he could beat that record in 5 seasons if he does stay 5 seasons in the Premier League. I just think that he does stay for that long. I don't think he's going to continue the amount that he's scored recently, but I just think I think he will end up beating it. I think he might go to be the best Premier League striker in history. That might be his goal.
Fair enough. And if, so almost like a separate related question, if they were both playing in the same season, who outscores the other? If you were to almost make a Shearer regen that could play this season, who do you think gets the more goals in the
He's
campaign?
actually only 2 goals off Haaland as it stands.
Sure.
The amount of goals that Shearer got for a struggling Newcastle team a lot of the time, I'm going to have to back Shearer.
Is he in the Newcastle squad now, or is he in like...
Yeah, the only
like his squad back in the day?
The only argument is the team that Haaland has around him. If Shearer had the same team around him that Haaland does, he would probably score more.
Oh yeah, if Shearer started in that Man City squad, clear.
Newcastle fans shouldn't complain about the club's progression given where they used to be. It's a little one to take in. Ooh, okay, we've got a little step. You need to go either way.
Long term, I would be on disagree, but short term, you have to remember just 2.5 seasons ago, an awful, awful team with an awful, awful manager, with an awful, awful owner. As we said in a previous question, that Europe came too quickly, and I think that sort of goes into this question as well. If we should not be in Europe already, then we are overachieving as it is right now.
Wembley Cup final, like Milan, Dortmund, PSG away, like you have to look at where we were 1-2 seasons ago, literally fighting for survival, and then we're there. Like, yeah, long term, maybe, but look at what we've done with what we had. Just enjoy it.
How come you guys disagree or strongly disagree?
Because we lost in the final. We went out of the Champions League. Like, we've been given that taste. I appreciate people's standpoint on this, but for me, you know, players aren't bereft of criticism just because we were crap 2.5 years ago. We should be able to have an opinion on that, and it feels like there's been quite a divide between fans in the sense that, you know, obviously there's 50% of the fans that are like, you can't say that, and 50% of the fans that maybe go over the top a little bit.
You've got to have perspective, like these lads have said, you know, from where we've came from how terrible it was, how grim it was. But at the end of the day, we've spent a few hundred million since then. We've got the infrastructure now, we're building, they've got ambition. So you've got to take into account the present, really, and how they're looking towards the future. And we have got some top class players in that team. So we should be where we are now, I think, top 6. We're getting there. We've had a terrible bit of luck this season, but I think we're still going to have a bit of something about it to want to achieve more.
Obviously, we do remember where we're coming from. We're never going to, I guess, for fans, they're going to be fickle and just go, well, you know, we should be doing this, should be doing that. Newcastle haven't won a domestic trophy in 68 years now, so that's the reality behind it. We're still trying to get to something like that. But at the same time, you know, with the money we've spent now, you still got to have standards. If Newcastle don't finish in, I guess, in a decent enough position, I think fans still have a right to complain about it, and that's something that myself and everyone else, I'm sure, if you have a bad loss, for example, you're always going to come out and have a whinge about it.
To go to the very top level, Newcastle need to knock down and rebuild St James's Park.
Is it going to be where it is?
I guess up to you to interpret the question. No, it's on. Some deliberations. Oh, it's quite a split on this one.
It's just been home for so many years. It's such an iconic stadium. You hear interviews of former players. St James's Park is a fortress. I know it brings more money, it brings more fans, etc. A massive change could bring a massive change to the team. It could really set us back quite a bit. You never know.
I've always got a loyalty to St James's Park. It's been my entire life. It's always a stadium I like now. It's quite a tricky one to say because, of course, having a new stadium, you will make so much more money. You have all the extra revenue coming in. You have more fans going to the games. So long term, it will help Newcastle out. But it's just that thing for me. I just want to stay at St James's Park. I think we're still able to find revenue in our sources. For example, even if it's someone who's like change the name at St James's Park to someone with a sponsorship, then there are other ways you can go about it. I don't think it's the be all and end all that Newcastle has to move from St James's Park.
I think if you can extend it, you do. I think Darren Eales said that in the whole of Europe, St James's Park is the closest to a mainline train station. So in terms of modern stadiums, it's got the infrastructure to be one of the best and the best for opposition fans as well as home fans.
I think in an ideal world, you would just be able to extend it, but it doesn't look like that's possible to an extent where it would actually benefit us really more than like 5, 6, 7,000. So as we touched on earlier, financial fair play, massive restraining Newcastle from progressing. One loophole around that is the stadium, isn't it? You can build 80,000, fill it every week, sell out the season tickets. Fortunately, it's the modern game, and that's one way around of being able to improve the squad.
They've already shown their hand with regards to increasing hospitality at St James's Park, and I think it's inevitable that we'll be in a new stadium by 2030, personally.
Newcastle will get top 4 next season. Oh, we got a strong. Oh, he's teetering on the strong.
Just think, like people have said, with the injuries that we've had, and we're still pushing for European football. You know, we're not mathematically out of the Champions League. We're not going to get it this season, but we're not mathematically out of it. And with some signings in the summer and getting the lads back to full strength, the likes of Joe Linton coming back, I think it could be comfortable, to be honest.
Wow.
Chelsea aren't competing anymore. Spurs like to be a bit Spursy every now and then. No, I'm joking.
I think it's hard to answer now without the transfer window, obviously, if we lose anyone or who we were saying. But I think Carl's right. I think I look at us now where we can become the 4th best team in the league. I think it's there for the taking, me. You've got Spurs, Villa, Chelsea might come back a little bit more. But when you look around, who's next? West Ham, Brighton, we're going to probably lose to Zerbi. Like, for me, it's wide open now. So I think 4th can be ours.
Considering what we've done over 32 games with the squad we've had,
exactly.
if we had the exact same players, we could have pushed on the top 4 easy enough this season.
Man United now, we're above them after this season so far. So it's
what we've done this
Who knows
season
what's going to happen with Liverpool as well.
What could we do next season with an actual fit and functioning squad like it's meant to?
Yeah, Liverpool's going to fall off with Klopp leaving. So,
do you guys think you make a push for the league anytime soon, or is there like an estimation on time?
A few years away, that I think.
Look at the table now.
We'll get it before Spurs.
So I think really, if you look at Liverpool, Arsenal, and City, you're just miles ahead of everyone else at the minute, and that 4th spot kind of seems to be between 5 or 6 teams or so. But Newcastle, I mean, never say never, but I still think we're probably 1 step behind those 3 teams at the minute.
Once Pep leaves, maybe.
I think we're all waiting for that to happen, to be honest. That's pretty much everything.
Nice one.
Perfect.